A while back I made a video called Gay Agenda Revealed, in which I satirically support gay marriage rights. One of the commenters left quite a long comment, and his name was ReptilesGamer00. Now, some text comments just require more than a text response, and I think this is one of them. So I've taken the time to respond to it piece by piece, hopefully for the benefit of the people who agree with this commenter. Yes, I am a Christian. I don't support gay marriage for the typical reasons. God said man shouldn't lay with another man, / marriage is between man and woman, etc. Let's start by assuming the Bible, which has been translated, edited, revised, and was recorded as mostly passed down tertiary information anyway. Let's assume that's all true. Let's assume it is an honest representation of the will of your God, and let's assume that your God exists. You claimed that God said man shouldn't lay with another man, which according to some verses in the Bible is true. You claim that marriage is between a man and a woman, which is kind of true. Let's assume you've interpreted the verses mentioning men and women going from being twain to being one flesh are saying that men and women can and should be married if they love each other. So, cite for me the chapter and verse of the Bible which specifically states that sinners and/or abominations aren't allowed to wed. The God of the Bible certainly doesn't approve of homosexuality, but in some verses that express that, it also expresses God's disapproval for divorce, the abomination of shellfish, and those who trim their beards. Give all of Leviticus a nice, slow read sometime and see what sort of things your God condemns and condones. So, where does he specifically forbid gay marriage? If we're going to interpret his disapproval of homosexuality as an abomination to mean that he doesn't approve of them being married, then where is all the outcry for the couples who both eat shellfish or both wear mixed fabrics to not be allowed to marry either? It seems inconsistent. A few other reasons. Why do people want to change something that started as a religious tradition / promise and make it their own? To me, allowing gays to get married isn't going to make America a better place. To boot, it just seems impossible. Kind of like dividing by zero. Sorry, it just can't be done. Do gay people feel like they love each other more after marriage? Why do they need marriage to live happily together? Marriage didn't start as a religious institution, let alone a Christian one. Historians agree the earliest marriage records started about 4 millennia ago back in Mesopotamia as a means of making sure that a kid that a man was going to raise and care for actually belonged to him. It was a ceremonial means of solidifying two people's commitment to one another. Marriage then and now exists for both ceremonial and practical purposes. Even if marriage were started by religions, and it did start as a strictly man and woman relationship, your argument is an appeal to tradition. The United States was traditionally a country that only extended rights to those citizens who were wealthy, property-owning white males. I think it's a good thing we eschewed those traditions in favor of equality. Don't you? You claim that allowing gays to marry won't make America a better place. That claim is subjective, not objective. And why does something have to make America a better place in order for it to be legal? It's easily understood that having the freedom to do anything that doesn't infringe on the life, liberty, or pursuit of personal happiness of others is essential in the establishing of that wonderful liberty that Americans are so proud of. I don't drink alcohol, so by your logic, it should be outlawed, because for me, alcohol being legal doesn't make America a better place. As for your claim that it's impossible for gay people to marry, as if it's dividing by zero, then explain to me how all the gay people have possibly gotten married in the multiple states that currently allow it. It's no different than how hetero couples get married. You asked why they need to get married to live happily together, and I would extend the same question for hetero couples. Why not make marriage illegal for straight people? Ask yourself how a straight couple that loves one another being allowed to marry makes this country a better place than if their marriage were illegal. The same reasoning applies to gay couples. Just because something isn't essential doesn't mean we should outlaw it. Think of your favorite place to go out to eat. Think of your favorite music. Think of your favorite movie or TV show. None of those things are completely essential for you to live a happy life. So by your logic, they should all be illegal. If gays want to be married for equal rights and that's it, That's an awful reason. I heard many times, you can't choose to be gay, you're born the way you are. Okay, aren't pedophiles born the way they are? Shouldn't we let a 64-year-old man marry a 3-year-old boy? No. People who engage in bestiality don't necessarily control what they find attractive, so they just so happen to find animals sexually appealing. Should we let 18-year-old women marry their boxers, type of dog? I don't think so, no. If you think gays need rights by the same structural logic, you would have to be in favor of bestiality, pedophiles, incest, etc. If gays get married, bestiality is next to be legalized. Just watch. Their main argument will be, why not? XD. No. Because in order for marriage to take place, both parties must consent. A heterosexual man isn't allowed to knock a woman unconscious, drag her to the courthouse, and get married to her before she regains consciousness. Both must consent to the union. Children are deemed by society as below the age of legal consent. Other species lack the intellectual and physical capability to both conceptualize what marriage is and to consent to it. Two adult homosexuals, however, are fully capable of understanding and expressing their consent to marry each other, in the same way that two grown heterosexuals are. Your argument is as bad as someone in 1965 saying, we can't let blacks and whites marry. If you think interracial couples deserve to get married because their skin color is just something they're born with, then we must let man marry horse. Well, Loving v. Virginia ruled that interracial marriage is perfectly fine and it hasn't caused any outbreak of underage or bestiality marriages. When homosexuals receive the right to marry on a federal level, that's when, not if, the country will be no worse off at all and much better for it. I suggest you get on the right side of history. Besides, do any of you know what a right is? A right is your ability to do something legally for a certain period of time. To say it's your or their right for gays to be married, you're suffering from entitlement. The same goes for children. That kid got the newest action figure, so I must have one too. Grow up. Go to Wikipedia and type in internment of Japanese Americans. After Pearl Harbor, a large sum of Japanese Americans were taken to camps to be Americanized. The government wanted to make sure that none of these people were involved in Pearl Harbor. The government violated their rights because of fear. The one time your American rights are actually supposed to keep you safe, they immediately got taken away. What the fuck does any of that have to do with gay marriage? You're using an obscure example from a Wikipedia article about Americans having their rights violated to justify denying people's rights today. You're also comparing a desire for equality with spoiled children wanting the same toys as someone else, immediately after defining a right as something immaterial. Your example directly contradicts your definition. If your example was that one child wanted to have just as much time to ride the seesaw at recess as all the other kids, then it would be a good example. People are supposed to be entitled to equal rights and opportunities regardless of what religious, sexual, ethnic, or gender demographics they fall under. If gay people were demanding that government pay them to have the exact same shiny new car as their heterosexual neighbors, your spoiled child and toy analogy might actually make sense. But they aren't asking for material things. They're asking for equal rights. So your example is horrible. Christians have freedom of religion in America, but most of us know it's a privilege. People in China don't have freedom of religion. Are we better than the Chinese that we must have freedom of religion? No. Therefore, it cannot be a right. It's a privilege. It is gay people's right to be married is a poor argument. I read this part of your comment several times, and I'm still not sure I even understand the premise of what it is you're trying to argue. You say American Christians have freedom of religion, but most of them know it's a privilege. Having the freedom to do something is not mutually exclusive with it being a privilege on a global scale. That doesn't mean it makes any less of a right in this country. One country not allowing something doesn't mean that the other countries can't allow that thing and consider it a right for their citizens. Countries can also grant new rights or enact new legal restrictions upon their populations when their governments decide to do so. People are arguing that gay people deserve the right to be married just as much as straight people deserve it. Until you can demonstrate some secular and rational thing about straight people in this secular society that should grant them any right or privilege, big or small, beyond gay people, your position remains baseless. Gay people just want to be treated equally. Well, who doesn't? Obtaining rights doesn't make ridiculing stop. It reminds me of that South Park episode where Muhammad had the ability to not be ridiculed. You're comparing a demographic being denied a right which is extended to every other demographic with satire regarding free speech. No, just having the right to be married won't stop ridicule from ignorant people. But that's not what equality means. In a society with both free speech and equality, people have full rights to mock and ridicule one another all they want. For equality to exist, however, rights afforded to the majority demographics must also be afforded to the minorities, provided they haven't done something felonious to be stripped of those rights. Being treated equally and being treated nicely are different things. Your argument is as foolish as saying that slavery shouldn't have been ended in America because abolishing it wouldn't end racism. I said I am a Christian. Please put this into my perspective for a moment. Jesus came to the earth and was mocked, spit on, ridiculed, made fun of, etc. Jesus left, and to this day, he still is made fun of, ridiculed, and mocked. God Almighty gets ridiculed daily, but gay people are too good to be ridiculed? Everyone gets treated unfairly. People are not fair. It is a part of life. As a Christian, I don't expect people to not make fun of me or even treat me as an equal. Why? I am different from everybody else. I don't expect to be treated equal because I am not equal. When someone treats me as an equal, I thank them for their tolerance and vice versa. Oh, we have another poor, oppressed, mocked American Christian whose demographic makes up the overwhelming majority of the entire country's population. Tell me one place in this entire country where you are denied equal legal rights which are afforded to non-Christians. Go ahead, I'll wait. I dare you. Find me one place. The problem is you seem to think that public opinion and government law are the same thing. Of course, homosexuals don't want to be ridiculed any more than anyone else wants to be ridiculed. But they also aren't fighting for any anti-ridicule laws here. They're fighting for equal marriage rights, to be recognized as equal citizens in the eyes of the law, no differently than what interracial couples were fighting for in the 1960s. Interracial couples still get scorned by ignorant racists today. But does that mean it was pointless to grant them marriage rights? Your argument is that any minority that gets bullied and oppressed should remain that way because you agree that people should have the free speech to ridicule each other. And you do so while reassuring us that you understand because you're a Christian whose beliefs are mocked in a country dominated by a Christian population. Stop conflating civilian mockery with legal rights. And if you think you have it hard as a vast majority member, have some empathy and consider what it must be like for an actual minority which is savagely misunderstood. Gay people should just be gay and be proud of it, but instead they need everybody's approval. Gay Olympics, gay parades, gay bars, gay etc. Why? I never seen in the paper coming to your area the straight Olympics or the straight parades. It seems so pointless, and if you don't like what gays are doing, you're considered a hater. Psh, everybody gets made fun of. Rights are nothing special. Be happy on your choices. What you plan to have sex with, please keep it to yourself. Don't demand people to accept it. Leave marriage alone. They're not interested in you approving of their lifestyle. Enjoying meeting each other in a place of mutual interest like a gay bar doesn't change that. It doesn't mean they want your approval because they want a place where they can meet each other. They're interested in having the same rights and privileges that you have. And you've yet to give me a singular secular reason for why you deserve the right to marry a consenting adult you love, but they don't. Gay parades don't exist to seek approval. They exist to express that the participants and those that they represent, those who share their sexual orientation, are not alone, nor ashamed of who they are, nor should they be. What started as the Gay Olympics and is now called the Gay Games, alliteration and all, is actually open to people from all countries and all sexual orientations, including straight people. The gay athletes who compete in those games, hailing from countries where they could be killed or imprisoned for their sexual orientation, sure as hell aren't seeking your approval either. And yes, if you have a problem with that, you're a hater, because the primary causes of having a problem with people fighting for equality for the minority demographic to which they belong are ignorance, confusion, and hate.